In the golden kingdom of Delmira, nestled between the jagged mounts of mirror flint and the brooding witchwoods, reigned a queen known as Maelina the Wise. Her name echoed through 10 realms, whispered in courts and scrawled in tomes, a paragon of intellect, strategy, and restraint. She had ruled Delmira with balance and foresight for 30 years, until the day she gave birth to triplets. The people rejoiced, expecting 3 heirs to match the queen's brilliance, but from the beginning, the stars whispered a different fate. The court astrologer, blind old Myric, announced with trembling hands, 3 crowns, 3 paths, and 3 blades of ruin. Fools born of wisdom shall hollow the throne. The queen dismissed the prophecy with a rare scoff. Yet, as the years passed, it became increasingly clear that her daughters were, while beautiful, privileged, and adored, utterly, irredeemably foolish. Princess Ysolde, the eldest by minutes, was obsessed with glamour and beauty. Mirrors lined her chambers, each enchanted to whisper compliments. She bathed in crushed lilies and perfumed wine, had 7 suitors a day presented to her for evaluation, and would wail in despair if a gown was sewn without gemstones. Princess Caelia, the middle, fancied herself a scholar, but lacked both patience and comprehension. She devoured scrolls, yes, but remembered only what pleased her, twisting knowledge into nonsense. She once declared that the moon was a reflection of her own eye and forced the astronomers to etch it into the royal records. Princess Thera, the youngest, was the most dangerous. Not for her intellect, which was as cloudy as her sister's, but for her obsession with power. She played with soldiers like dolls, demanded armies march in mock wars for her amusement, and once attempted to arrest a nobleman because he didn't bow with sufficient flourish. The queen watched her daughters grow with an increasing sense of dread. But death, even for the wise, is inevitable. When Maelina died, strangely and silently one night, with no wound or illness, her 3 daughters were left to rule together. And thus began the reign of folly. The first foolish act of the princesses was to build a palace made entirely of mirrors, deep in the southern meadows atop ancient burial grounds. Ysolde insisted it must reflect the sun in all directions, so the gods may never forget our radiance. They displaced a village to build it. The peasants warned them, "This land is cursed. It was sealed by Queen Maelina herself." Ysolde sniffed. "Everything ugly is always called cursed." The palace was built within a month, at a horrifying cost. The engineers vanished. The workers began speaking backwards, but the sisters were too enraptured by their reflections to notice. Ysolde spent hours in the Hall of 100 Faces, a circular room where each mirror twisted her image slightly. She called it her gallery of selves. She laughed with them, spoke to them, but one mirror began whispering back. It called itself Nyla. "Nyla sees deeper than flesh," it crooned. "Ysolde, your sisters are plotting to shatter you." "You lie," Ysolde snapped, but the mirror only smiled. Every day, Nyla told her of secret plots, stolen glances, and veiled insults. Ysolde began skipping councils. She stopped eating with her sisters. She ordered guards to shadow Caelia and Thera. Then she ordered her sisters' wings of the palace sealed, then locked, then burned. Caelia and Thera escaped, but not before hundreds of guards, cooks, and innocent staff perished in the flames. Ysolde vanished into the mirrors after that, and the Hall of 100 Faces sealed itself. All attempts to retrieve her failed. Those who entered either screamed themselves to death or joined her, becoming reflections that never blinked. Ysolde ruled nothing after that. The mirror ruled her. Caelia survived the fire, her hair half burned and her pride intact. She proclaimed Ysolde afflicted by madness and declared herself chief queen of knowledge. Thera laughed openly. To restore order, Caelia ordered the creation of the Great Codex of All Truth, a sprawling project involving 1,000 scribes who were tasked to collect every known law, tradition, and personal truth across Delmira. Each person, from peasant to priest, could submit a truth. This madness resulted in chaos. Some claimed sheep could read dreams, so shepherds were made clerics. Others declared bread should only be round, so square loaves were outlawed. One nobleman declared daylight to be an insult, so the sun was banned from being mentioned in court. Caelia, too arrogant to filter, enshrined them all. The codex grew thicker than walls. Disputes turned bloody as contradicting truths clashed. Courts collapsed. Logic became treason. The The land became a theater of delusion, and Caelia watched from her ivory tower, sipping tea laced with moonflower, which she claimed heightened her clair wit. It did not. In the end, she was smothered in her sleep by her own scribes. Not out of cruelty, but mercy. They buried her under the codex. The tomb marker read, "She knew everything, except herself." With Ysolde lost to the mirror realm and Caelia buried under her own nonsense, Princess Thera assumed absolute rule. She declared herself warlord empress of the 9 spheres of dominion and replaced the royal council with animated mannequins dressed in armor. She waged war against the kingdom of wind, which was imaginary. She ordered the oceans punished for unruly tides. She burned entire forests to remove hiding places for cowards. But perhaps her most infamous decree was the creation of the Colossus Guard, 10 giants bred from captured hill tribesmen, forcibly mutated by court alchemists until they stood 30 feet tall and breathed frost. These giants patrolled Delmira with clubs the size of boats. They enforced law, crushed rebellion, and guarded Thera's throne of spite, which she carved from bones of those who looked at her wrong. She grew paranoid, claiming ghosts of her sisters whispered poison into her ears. She wore iron earplugs, then ordered her own thoughts silenced by court witches, who cut out her dreams and fed them to ravens. But dreams don't die. One night, the ravens returned, cawing not as birds, but as voices, thousands of them. They perched across the castle, shrieking her dreams back at her. Visions of burning palaces, melting mirrors, choking codices, and endless throne rooms filled with bones. Thera screamed for her Colossus Guard. But the giants had gone still, staring silently at the ravens. When Thera raised her blade to strike, they bowed to the birds. That night, the kingdom of Delmira watched as its final ruler was lifted, screaming into the black skies by a storm of dream-fed ravens.